735 BC, the beginning of the ancient times where people see the sun bestow the light and life to the totality of the cosmos. Without the sun, plants and animals won't grow. The ancient people start their day by worshipping their god, which is the sun.
Look at all the blessings of our beloved God. Every plant is blooming, and they are all covered by a fog.
The touch of life makes me feel warm and feel the presence of our Almighty.
Let's thank Him for all the things that we are having now.
The sun god and creator Re was the dominant figure among the high gods and retained his position from early in the civilization's history. He was believed to travel across the sky in his solar bark and during the night. There was a god of light called Horus. Come from the star in the east, teach at age of 12, have a ministry at 30, have 12 disciples, and performed miracles. He is known as the Lamb of God and the Light. There was an Egyptian god of dark. He is known as the god of the desert, storms, disorder, violence in ancient Egyptian religion. People depend on the sun for their way of life, which makes them survive. Sun is the one who gave them light for them to plant their crops, build their houses, and everything that they can make for their life. They obtain their foods from the ocean and land. Taro was one of the main foods of the people in the land. Taro was planted in the swampland or a mud. When taro was ready for harvest, it was uprooted and they began to wash and cook the taro in the underground oven. Traditionally, they share their crops for Ancient people used stones as their utensils for preparing the foods and for catching animals in the forest or sea. They blended the stones to form a sharp edge that they can use for cutting hard objects or even cutting the meat or peeling their fruits. Ancient constellation, a group of stars that fit into a recognizable pattern. People thought that the gods live in the heavens and that they created them. Many cultures believe that the position of the stars were their gods' way of telling stories, so it seemed natural to recognize patterns in the sky, give their names, and tell stories about them. We inherited the names of our constellations from the Greeks, and they named the constellations after their mythological heroes and legends.
I remember Aquarius, governing in the period of January to February. Its representation as a man pouring a stream of water out of a jug came about. It has been suggested because in ancient times, the rising of Aquarius coincided in the Middle Age with a period of floods and rains.
Constellation was agriculture. Before there were proper calendars, people had no way of determining when to sow or harvest except by the stars. Constellation made the patterns of the stars easy to remember. The ancient peoples knew, for example, that when the constellation Orion started to be fully visible, winter was coming soon, or they could look at the summer triangle to know when summer or spring were coming as well. The stars allowed farmers to plan ahead and form agriculture, and constellation made it easier to recognize and interpret. The constellation also helped with navigation. It is fairly easy to spot Polaris, the North Star, once you found Ursa Minor, the Little Dipper constellation. One can figure out his or her latitude, north or south, just by looking at how high Polaris appears in the night sky. This allowed for ships to travel across the globe. It allowed for the discovery of America, the spread of European culture, and the civilization as we know it today.
The Epic of Gilgamesh is the oldest written story unheard to date. It depicts the adventure of historical King Gilgamesh of Uruk in Babylonia on the Euphrates River in modern-day Iraq. The epic Gilgamesh dates to about 2700 BC and was originally written on 12 clay tablets in the cuneiform script of ancient Sumeria.
Gilgamesh was a city tyrant whose mother was a goddess. He was a cruel ruler, forcing his people into labor and freely exercising his kingly right to sleep with girls on their wedding day. The people prayed to gods to make an equal rival for Gilgamesh, and they created Enkidu, a creature that was a half-bull, half-human. Enkidu was an idyllic spirit, living in harmony with nature. Gilgamesh ordered the harlot Shamhat to seduce him, which will weaken him by alienating him from nature. They coupled for 7 days and 7 nights. In language reminiscent of biblical garden story, Enkidu finds himself a changed but a wiser creature.
There are few override similarities between Gilgamesh and Jesus Christ. His journey was not into the underworld, which was ruled by Dumuzi and Iana, but instead to a land of immortals across the sea. In the end of his quest for immortality failed. He died. But later version of the story have Gilgamesh become the deified ruler of shades in the underworld and give verdicts or judge the dead. George Lee.
Listen to my heart.